Frank Sinatra, known for his incredible voice and fiery temper, had some notable enemies. His dislike for Marlon Brando was legendary, with their feud starting on the set of Guys and Dolls. Sinatra also had a major fallout with Peter Lawford after a personal snub involving President Kennedy. And who could forget his anger at Mario Puzo, thinking the Godfather character Johnny Fontane was based on him. These are just some of the people Sinatra clashed with, and the stories behind these feuds reveal a lot about the man behind the music. Frank Sinatra, one of the most iconic figures in American music and film, was born on December 12, 1915, in Hoboken, New Jersey. His full name was Francis Albert Sinatra. His parents were Italian immigrants, and he grew up in a working-class neighborhood. From an early age, Sinatra showed a keen interest in music and was influenced by the sounds of the era, including jazz and big band. Sinatra's career began in the 1930s when he joined a local singing group called the Hoboken Four. They won a talent contest, which led to more opportunities. His big break came in the early 1940s when he became the lead singer for the Harry James and Tommy Dorsey orchestras. With these bands, Sinatra gained national attention, and his smooth voice and charisma won him a large following. In 1943, Sinatra embarked on a solo career, signing with Columbia Records. His popularity soared, especially among young female fans known as Bobby Soxers. Hits like All or Nothing at All, I'll Never Smile Again, and Night and Day cemented his status as a major star. His success continued into the 1950s, when he transitioned into a more mature sound and image. The 1950s were also marked by Sinatra's foray into acting. He won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role in From Here to Eternity, 1953. This period also saw him sign with Capitol Records, where he produced some of his most acclaimed albums, including In the Wee Small Hours, 1955, Songs for Swingin' Lovers, 1956, and Come Fly With Me, 1958. His collaboration with arrangers like Nelson Riddle and Billy May was crucial to his musical evolution. In the 1960s, Sinatra founded his own label, Reprise Records, giving him more creative control. He continued to produce hits and memorable albums such as September of My Years, 1965, and Strangers in the Night, 1966. He also became a prominent figure in Las Vegas, performing at various casinos and becoming a central figure in the Rat Pack, which included Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop. Sinatra's personal life was as eventful as his career. He was married 4 times, to Nancy Barbato, Ava Gardner, Mia Farrow, and Barbara Marx. His relationships were often tumultuous and garnered much media attention. Sinatra was also known for his connections to political figures and was a strong supporter of the Democratic Party, notably John F. Kennedy. Frank Sinatra and Marlon Brando were both incredibly famous and talented, but they were also very different. When they worked together on the movie Guys and Dolls in 1955, their differences led to a lot of tension and conflict. Guys and Dolls is a movie about 2 gamblers in New York City. Frank Sinatra played Nathan Detroit, a guy who organized illegal gambling games. Nathan was always trying to find money for his games and also trying to keep his fiancée, Adelaide, happy. Marlon Brando played Sky Masterson, another gambler who bets Nathan that he can take a woman, Sarah Brown, to Havana for a date. Sarah was a missionary who preached against gambling and alcohol. Even before filming started, there was trouble between Sinatra and Brando. Frank Sinatra really wanted the role of Sky Masterson, but it went to Marlon Brando instead. Sinatra was upset about this because he thought he was perfect for the part. He was known as a great singer and actor, and he even won an Oscar for his role in From Here to Eternity the year before. But Marlon Brando was already very famous and respected too. He had been nominated for 3 Oscars by that time. This casting decision made Sinatra very unhappy, and he started to dislike Brando from the beginning. On the set of Guys and Dolls, the tension between Sinatra and Brando quickly became obvious. Sinatra would call Brando Mumbles because he thought Brando was not a good singer. In one famous scene, called the cheesecake scene, Brando made Sinatra eat piece after piece of cheesecake by ruining the takes on purpose. This was because he knew Sinatra hated cheesecake. The scene took much longer to film than it should have, and it made Sinatra sick. This incident showed just how deep the animosity between them went. The differences between them were not just about the cheesecake scene. They had very different approaches to acting. Sinatra was more straightforward and didn't like to do many takes. He memorized his lines and wanted to get the scenes done quickly. Brando, on the other hand, liked to experiment with his acting and often needed multiple takes to get it right. This frustrated Sinatra, who did not have the patience for Brando's method of acting. Their rivalry went beyond just the set of Guys and Dolls. Brando had previously taken a role in the movie On the Waterfront, which Sinatra believed should have been his. This only added to Sinatra's resentment. The two men were very different in many ways. Sinatra came from the old Hollywood glamour, while Brando represented a new, rebellious style of acting. They just didn't see eye to eye on anything. Their feud wasn't just personal, it affected the way they worked together. They refused to speak to each other directly and used mediators to communicate on set. After the movie was finished, they continued to dislike each other. Sinatra even recorded a famous version of the song Luck Be a Lady, which Brando had sung in the movie. Sinatra's version became one of his most iconic songs, almost as if he was trying to prove he could do it better. In one particularly serious incident, Brando was riding his motorcycle when three men forced him into a car at gunpoint. They threatened to kill him or hurt him very badly, but eventually they let him go. Brando believed that Sinatra might have been behind this abduction because of their intense rivalry, although there was no proof. This incident showed just how deep the animosity between them went. Sinatra and Brando's feud even affected their professional opportunities. After their time on Guys and Dolls, they didn't work together again. When Francis Ford Coppola was making The Godfather, Sinatra wanted the role of Vito Corleone. He even offered to buy the rights to the book so he could play the part. But the role went to Brando, who won an Oscar for his performance. This must have been a bitter pill for Sinatra to swallow, as it was another role that he lost to Brando. The animosity between Sinatra and Brando wasn't limited to them. It affected the people around them too. For instance, Peter Lawford, a member of Sinatra's Rat Pack, was eventually cut out of the group because of his connections to the Kennedy family. Sinatra blamed Lawford for President John F. Kennedy's decision not to stay at Sinatra's house during a visit to California. This strained relationship with Lawford was another example of how Sinatra's personal grudges could affect his professional relationships. Brando, on the other hand, was known for his rebellious spirit and disdain for Hollywood's traditional ways. He often clashed with directors and co-stars due to his unconventional methods and his desire to push boundaries. This attitude only made his relationship with Sinatra more volatile. Brando saw Sinatra as part of the old guard that he was trying to overthrow, while Sinatra saw Brando as a disrespectful upstart who didn't appreciate the hard work that went into building a career in Hollywood. Their conflict on the set of Guys and Dolls was well known in Hollywood, and it became part of the film's lore. Despite their personal issues, both actors delivered memorable performances. Sinatra's portrayal of Nathan Detroit was praised for its charm and humor, while Brando's Sky Masterson was noted for its intensity and charisma. However, the tension between them was palpable, and it affected the overall atmosphere on set. The cheesecake scene became a legendary story in Hollywood. During this scene, Sky Masterson and Nathan Detroit meet while Nathan is eating a slice of cheesecake. Brando, knowing that Sinatra disliked cheesecake, deliberately messed up several takes to make Sinatra eat piece after piece. This prank led to a wasted workday and left Sinatra feeling sick. It was a clear example of how their rivalry played out in practical jokes and sabotage on set. Despite these challenges, Guys and Dolls was a success, both critically and commercially. The film showcased the talents of both men and remains a classic to this day. However, the feud between Sinatra and Brando continued to simmer long after the movie was released. The tension between Sinatra and Brando was not just about professional jealousy. It also reflected deeper differences in their personalities and approaches to life. Sinatra, with his polished image and established career, represented the traditional Hollywood star, Brando, with his rebellious spirit and unconventional methods, embodied the new wave of actors who challenged the status quo. Their clash was inevitable, given their contrasting styles and strong personalities. In the end, the feud between Frank Sinatra and Marlon Brando was a significant chapter in both their careers. It highlighted the challenges and conflicts that can arise when two strong-willed and talented individuals are forced to work together. Despite their differences, both men left an indelible mark on Hollywood and continue to be remembered for their contributions to film and music. Their rivalry, while often contentious, also underscored the passion and dedication that drove both men to succeed in their respective fields. Frank Sinatra and Lawrence Harvey had a significant feud while working together on the film The Manchurian Candidate in 1962. This movie is a classic thriller that involves political intrigue and mind control. Sinatra played Major Bennett Marco, and Harvey played Sergeant Raymond Shaw. Their roles were central to the story, with Marco trying to uncover a plot involving Shaw being brainwashed to become an assassin. The trouble between Sinatra and Harvey started early in the production. Sinatra was a big star with a lot of influence in Hollywood, and he expected things to go his way on set. He had a strong personality and was used to getting what he wanted. Lawrence Harvey, on the other hand, was known for being very dedicated to his craft and had a different approach to acting than Sinatra. One major source of tension was their contrasting work styles. Sinatra liked to work quickly and efficiently. He preferred to get scenes done in as few takes as possible. This was partly because he had a busy schedule and didn't like to waste time. Lawrence Harvey, however, was much more meticulous. He would take his time to get his performance just right, often requiring multiple takes. This clashed with Sinatra's desire to move quickly, causing frustration on both sides. Sinatra's frustration with Harvey's methodical approach boiled over on several occasions. For instance, there was a scene that required multiple takes because Harvey kept trying to perfect his performance. Sinatra, who was used to a faster pace, became impatient and annoyed. He made his displeasure clear, sometimes expressing his frustration openly on set. This added to the already tense atmosphere between the two actors. Another point of contention was the attention each actor received from the director, John Frankenheimer. Frankenheimer was impressed with Harvey's dedication and often gave him the space to explore his character deeply. Sinatra, who was used to being the center of attention, felt sidelined and undervalued. He was not used to sharing the spotlight so extensively, especially with someone who approached acting so differently. Despite their differences, both actors delivered powerful performances in the movie. Sinatra's portrayal of Major Marco was intense and convincing. He captured the paranoia and confusion of his character, who was struggling to understand the strange events he was experiencing. Harvey's performance as Raymond Shaw was equally compelling. He played a brainwashed soldier who was unknowingly being used as a pawn in a larger political game. Their professional rivalry, however, did not stay confined to the set. After filming ended, the tension between Sinatra and Harvey continued. They rarely spoke of each other in public, and when they did, it was often in negative terms. This ongoing feud became part of the lore surrounding the Manchurian Candidate. In the end, The Manchurian Candidate became a classic, praised for its storytelling and performances. The movie's success was a testament to the talent of both Sinatra and Harvey, despite their personal differences. Their feud did not diminish the quality of the film. If anything, it may have contributed to the authenticity of their performances. Frank Sinatra and Peter Lawford were once close friends, especially during the heyday of the Rat Pack. The Rat Pack was a group of entertainers in the 1960s that included Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford. They were known for their performances in Las Vegas, their movies, and their overall influence in show business. Sinatra and Lawford had a good relationship, with Lawford even being married to Patricia Kennedy, sister of President John F. Kennedy. This connection to the Kennedy family played a crucial role in their falling out. The feud between Sinatra and Lawford began because of a visit from President Kennedy. In 1962, President Kennedy was planning a trip to California, and Sinatra, who had supported Kennedy's presidential campaign, was eager to host him at his home in Palm Springs. Sinatra went to great lengths to prepare for the president's visit, even installing a helipad and making extensive renovations to his home to ensure Kennedy's comfort. He saw this visit as a significant honor and a symbol of his close relationship with the president. However, at the last minute, the plans changed. Attorney General Robert Kennedy, who was concerned about Sinatra's alleged connections to organized crime, advised the president to stay with Bing Crosby instead. Crosby was a known Republican, but was considered a safer choice due to his clean reputation. The news that Kennedy would not be staying with him came through Peter Lawford, who had to deliver the disappointing message to Sinatra. Sinatra was furious. He felt deeply insulted and betrayed by the Kennedys and Lawford. Sinatra had gone to great lengths to support Kennedy's campaign, and this rejection felt like a personal slight. The fact that the message came through Lawford made it even worse because it highlighted the close ties between Lawford and the Kennedy family. Sinatra blamed Lawford for the snub, believing that he had not done enough to persuade his brother-in-law to stay with him. The fallout was swift and severe. Sinatra immediately cut Lawford out of the Rat Pack and ended their friendship. Lawford, who had been a key member of the group, found himself on the outs. This was a significant blow to Lawford, both personally and professionally. Being part of the Rat Pack had boosted his career and provided him with numerous opportunities. Losing Sinatra's friendship and support had a considerable impact on him. Despite the end of their friendship, Lawford continued to work in Hollywood, though his career never fully recovered from the split with Sinatra. He remained a respected actor, but without the same level of prominence he enjoyed as part of the Rat Pack. Sinatra, on the other hand, continued his successful career, but the incident left a lasting impact on him. He became more cautious about his associations and the people he allowed into his inner circle. This feud between Sinatra and Lawford is a prime example of how personal relationships and professional alliances can dramatically shift in Hollywood. It shows the volatile nature of fame and the high stakes involved in the entertainment industry. The fallout from the Kennedy visit incident illustrates how personal slights can lead to significant professional consequences, especially when powerful personalities like Sinatra are involved. Frank Sinatra and Mario Puzo had a notable feud that revolved around Puzo's famous book, The Godfather. This book was published in 1969 and became an instant bestseller. It tells the story of the powerful Corleone crime family in New York City. The book was later adapted into a highly successful film in 1972, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. The trouble between Sinatra and Puzo began because of a character in The Godfather named Johnny Fontane. Johnny Fontane is a singer and actor who is very close to the Corleone family. In the story, Fontane asks for help from The Godfather to secure a movie role, and The Godfather uses his influence to make it happen. Many people believed that Fontane was based on Frank Sinatra because there were similarities between the character and Sinatra's own life, including his connections to powerful people and his career in music and movies. When Sinatra heard about this character, he was very upset. He felt that Puzo had used him as a model for Johnny Fontane in a way that was unflattering and damaging to his reputation. Sinatra was particularly sensitive about any suggestions of his alleged connections to organized crime, and he believed that the character of Johnny Fontane perpetuated these rumors. Sinatra's anger led to a confrontation with Mario Puzo. The most famous incident happened when they both attended a restaurant in Hollywood. According to Puzo, Sinatra approached him angrily and accused him of making him look bad in the book. Sinatra allegedly shouted at Puzo and made it clear that he was not happy with how he was portrayed through the character of Fontane. This confrontation was very public and caused quite a stir among those who witnessed it. Puzo tried to explain that Johnny Fontane was a fictional character and not directly based on Sinatra. He said that while there might have been some inspiration from real-life figures, Fontane was a composite character created for the story. However, Sinatra was not convinced and remained angry with Puzo. This feud had lasting effects. For years, Sinatra would publicly criticize Puzo and The Godfather. He made it clear that he did not appreciate the way he believed he was represented in the book and the film. Despite this, The Godfather became one of the most celebrated films in cinema history, and the character of Johnny Fontane became iconic in his own right. Interestingly, Sinatra had wanted a role in the film adaptation of The Godfather. He expressed interest in playing the part of Vito Corleone, the head of the Corleone family. However, this role went to Marlon Brando, who won an Oscar for his performance. Sinatra's interest in the film showed that, despite his anger at Puzo, he recognized the story's powerful impact and its potential for success. The feud between Sinatra and Puzo highlights the sensitive nature of public figures regarding their portrayal in the media. Sinatra, a hugely successful and influential entertainer, was very protective of his image and reputation. He felt that Puzo's work had unfairly tarnished his name, even though Puzo insisted that the character was not meant to be a direct representation of Sinatra. In the end, the feud between Frank Sinatra and Mario Puzo became a part of Hollywood history. It serves as a reminder of the impact that creative works can have on their subjects and the sometimes contentious relationship between fiction and reality. Despite the tension, both Sinatra and Puzo continued to have successful careers. The Godfather remains a seminal work in literature and film. Frank Sinatra and Jackie Mason had a significant feud that started because of some jokes Mason made about Sinatra and his friends. Jackie Mason was a comedian known for his sharp wit and his ability to poke fun at famous people. This didn't sit well with Sinatra, who had a reputation for being very protective of his image and his circle of friends. The trouble began when Mason made jokes that included references to Sinatra and his connections to powerful figures, including those rumored to be involved in organized crime. Sinatra, known for his sensitivity about such topics, felt that Mason's jokes were not just in poor taste, but also damaging to his reputation. He believed that Mason's humor crossed a line and was an attack on his character. The conflict reached a peak when Mason performed at the Copacabana, a famous nightclub in New York City. Sinatra, along with some friends, was in the audience. Mason, known for his fearless comedy, included some material about Sinatra in his routine. Sinatra was furious and confronted Mason after the show. The tension between them escalated, with Sinatra allegedly threatening Mason and making it clear that he wanted the comedian to stop making jokes about him. This feud had a lasting impact on Jackie Mason's career. Being blacklisted and having the disapproval of someone as powerful as Sinatra was a significant obstacle. It took Mason years to recover fully, but he eventually made a comeback with his unique style of comedy, which continued to be edgy and bold. Despite the feud, Mason's talent and persistence allowed him to regain his place in the entertainment world. He became known for his solo shows and his ability to connect with audiences through his humor. Sinatra, on the other hand, continued his successful career in music and acting, maintaining his status as an entertainment icon. The feud between Sinatra and Mason is a reminder of how powerful figures in the entertainment industry can influence careers, for better or worse. It also shows the fine line that comedians walk when making jokes about well-known personalities. Mason's experience illustrates the risks involved in pushing the boundaries of comedy, especially when it targets influential people. In the end, both men left their mark on the world of entertainment, albeit in different ways. Sinatra's legacy as a legendary singer and actor remains strong, while Mason is remembered for his sharp, fearless humor and his ability to persevere through challenges. Their feud is a part of Hollywood history, highlighting the complex relationships and power dynamics within the industry.